Hi, I'm Angel Colby. I play Guinevere in Merlin, and you're listening to Sci-Fi Talk.
Now let's go to the radio roundtables of San Diego Comic-Con with the stars of Merlin. First is Katie McGrath, who is Morgana. She sat down to talk about Season 4.
Morgana's getting, more evil.
Oh, yeah. Come on. Good girl, bad girl, which you going to go for? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it kind of felt like for the first few years she was playing the role that she felt that she should. She was a princess and she felt she should be good and sweet and nice. And now that she's finally sort of embraced her inner, I'm not allowed to swear, her inner dark side, it kind of feels like she's actually being who she is and she's being true to herself, which is nice. It's nice to play that because you feel like I'm actually being her, which is great. Plus, it's way more fun being evil.
What's been interesting is Morgana's turn to the dark side has been kind of gradual.
Nice from that point of view that it feels like it didn't happen all of a sudden, because then I think, it's more believable because you can see her journey and you can understand why she's done it. And it makes it, I think, more of a sympathetic character. Even though she is obviously going to become the villain, she's in a way sympathetic because you can understand that she has in fact been pushed to it. She's a victim of the circumstances that she's been put in, and she's not out and out evil. She is just trying to do the best that she can, and she's doing what she believes is right. The irony is she truly is Uther's daughter. They are in fact the same person. They have the same views on things. They're just coming from different sides of the coin.
She addresses the issue of what happened during Morgana's lost year.
I don't think you need to. I think by the time you see her, it'll be very clear what happened in the year. I think it's very clear what she spent the year doing. I mean, that year, no. Again, it's very clear, I think, what happened in that year. I think it's a slower discovery of what she's done over the series, which I think is clever. They didn't introduce an entirely new character in season 3. They kept the old one, and you have this sort of lovely her playing both sides and this gradual transition into the character. I mean, the thing about Merlin is you know where they're going to be. You know that Morgana is ultimately going to be a dark magical presence, and Arthur's going to be king and Guinevere is going to be queen, but you don't know how they're going to get there. And that's what season 3 is kind of about for her. It's about finding her journey towards that. And it's Merlin. It's never going to be easy. It's going to surprise you in a way that you weren't expecting. And that's what makes it great.
Is there a temptation, now that she's on a darker path, to turn up the speed for her decline?
Oh, God, if it was up to me, I'd have them speeded up at 90 miles an hour. But the producers are very clever. They're very smart men. And they know how long they want the show to go, and they know inside and out their storylines. And they've paced it, I think, very well just to keep you interested enough, but and keep you guessing. I'm sure there, I think, is this sort of idea that once, yes, she'll become evil and then that's it. But she's not evil in the way that everybody thinks she is. She's not cackling in a cave. She's not Macbeth's witches. She's still a sympathetic character. She has been driven to this, and I kind of think she's the hero of the story, but that possibly might just be my own spin on it because I love her so much, but whatever.
What's interesting, there was this one scene that we saw where it was between her and Uther, where she just literally just spews venom at him and pretty much tells him she hates his guts. That was a very big moment for both of them.
It was.
So, and he was obviously crushed. What was it like for both of you to be like Singh, to play that with them?
Harrowing. Tony's such a nice man. I never wanted to hurt him. And he was, and when he was playing it, he was, he was acting, but he was crushed. And in my head, I'm going, God, I'm making Tony upset. No, Katie, it's not real. It's not real. God. I think it was difficult to film, but at the same time, that for me was a direct lead on from the scene that I had with him, where I woke up realizing that he was in fact my father, and that for me is a pivotal scene for Morgana because she's begging him to accept her, begging him, and he doesn't. He denies her to her face, where she essentially tells him that she knows the truth, and he says, you're not enough, you're not good enough, and I'm not going to do it. And for her, I think that sealed the deal of the path that she was going on. Had he accepted her at that point, I think she would have, joined the force, joined the good side, But because she didn't, I think the scene with him that you're talking about is her getting back at him for that. And I think most of what she did in the end of season 3 is as a direct result of being denied,
She addresses a question she was asked if Morgana wants to kill Arthur.
I don't think it's so much that she wants to kill Arthur so much. I think she's just on a path, and I think I don't think she's thought about it, because at the end of the day, the one person that's always helped her when she asks for help is Arthur. But I think she is so utterly committed to what it is that she needs to do that it's blinded her to everything else. And I don't think she's really even thinking about Arthur. I think she's thinking that this is my birthright, and if I take the throne, I will save people like me and I will no longer live in fear. I think that's what she's thinking. And I think part of her thinks that Arthur will be a ruler like his father. And that would not be good for her, obviously. That would mean possibly death for her. So I don't think she's thinking about Arthur as her brother. I think she's thinking about Arthur as a potential threat to her. So I think she's just single-minded. I think she's kind of a bit lost looking outside of the box. She's on a mission. I don't think she can see anything else beyond that. She's running on pure anger and pure adrenaline. You know, what happens when that runs out, who knows? Crying in a corner maybe, but until that point, she's doing great.
So as far as shooting, are you done with 4 and now going?
Oh, no, are you kidding? We're filming 4 now, and we're filming 4 till October. We still film it when it comes out, because it'll be out in England in September, and then we start up in October. We finish in October, and we get very nicely a couple of months off, which is very generous of them to do it, and then maybe we start another season. We don't know yet, so, you know, it's the juggernaut that is Merlin. But it's weird, I've never been to America with it on, and it's strange to see. I just can't quite wrap my head around the fact that everybody watches it. A bit strange.
Season 5 has since been announced since this interview took place. She also tells us now about being at San Diego Comic-Con.
Desperate to go out. Are you kidding me? I want to geek out and see as much stuff as I heard that possibly Mark Hamill was here, and I had a moment. They were like, so Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford are here, and I went... yeah, it was like all my Christmases came. Really quite sad. And my brother's here. He came out for his birthday, so he's here as well, so we're going to get to wander around and be sad McGrath geeks together, if they'll let me out. I'm not quite sure. Gary is hovering everywhere we go. But he is. But he's our general, and we are his soldiers. He is running a military campaign.
There's that Morgana look right there.
Yes, the evil smiles and smirks that we do so well.
We were talking about it, that the other show based on the Arthurian legend is actually gone now. I mean, it's got to be gratifying that after really kind of a strange start here in the U.S. on NBC not doing well, and then finding a really solid audience on Sci-Fi, that's got to be gratifying.
Yeah, but Sci-Fi supported us so well and still do, and they really got the show. You know, they really understood what it was and where it needed to be, and the one channel that needed to be on in America was Sci-Fi, and they absolutely committed to it. And we won the lottery with that. I mean, it was amazing for it to be on NBC, but with Sci-Fi, like I said, they got behind it completely, and they love it, and that makes you feel really great. And with the other show, with Camelot, it's not even the same. We never put it in the same box. I mean, Camelot's closer to Game of Thrones. It's closer to the Borgias. It's on that kind of level. And while there is a character called Merlin, there's a character called Arthur, and there's a Bond girl playing Morgana, which was always fun for me. That was really, when I found that one out, I did have a cluck. The best Bond girl in the last 15 years is playing the same role as you, and you're just like, oh, even on your best day, you do not want that comparison. But it is a different show, and I think it's a really good example of the Arthurian legend, how it can be retold in so many formats, and that's why it's a legend that's lasted so long. It is essentially the same legend, but it's a completely different telling. And you know, I think we never really felt threatened by it. In anything, it kind of helped us to have something different, and that, you know, you could see it and it was good for our profile. But I think it's much closer to Game of Thrones and much closer to the Borgias and things like that. And I'm glad it was Game of Thrones that didn't get cancelled, because it's my favourite book. Isn't it amazing? I saw the new one at the airport and it was like that big, and I was like, I can't carry it with me. I really can't, so I'll wait till I get home. My friend just got cast in the show and I am deathly jealous. I was like, I can't believe it, no. But, you know, you're going to tell me all the scripts, right? Just going to let me know what's happening. I've read the books, but just, you know, let me know.
She was asked if she could guest star on any show that is currently running, what would it be?
If I could guest star anything with Nathan Fillion, I love him. Is that sad? I mean, it's one of the few times I think I'd just be like, Firefly, please, just touch my hand. Tell me, is Jane amazing? Jane's amazing, right? But if I could guest star in anything, Game of Thrones be just a dream. Simpsons, come on, everybody wants to be a guest star. I met Buzz Aldrin once, and I was less impressed that he'd walked on the moon and more impressed that he had voiced The Simpsons. And how sad is that? It was the truth. But, you know, there's so many different, you know, if I could have been on the West Wing when it was on, even if I could have walked in the background, that is seminal, beautiful TV, anything with Joss Whedon. I mean, you could name it. TV now is not like TV was 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. I mean, for the most part, it's better than movies. And to be on a show like Merlin that sort of lives up to that, especially this year, we're filming on 35mm film. It's very filmic and vast. It feels like... Do you guys know the movie Krull? Please tell me you know Krull.
Yes, Krull.
Krull, yes. There we go. So it's like Krull and Conan the Barbarian and Willow, that kind of, fantasy, vast, adventure movie. That's what Merlin feels like this year. So you feel really proud to be on it, It's grown from this tiny little show with 5 sets in Cardiff to this vast worldwide thing that none of us could quite imagine. I think with a show like this, that you've already got to suspend so much disbelief because it's got magic and everything in it. If you shoot on high def, it makes it more difficult, but on film you've got that sort of gloss, that romanticism, and I think that's one of the reasons why Merlin looks so beautiful, is that you feel like you're watching a proper fantasy movie. It's no Krull, but come on, in all fairness, I was thinking about should they remake that movie, and I'm like, there's no way they could make it better. No, but they revoiced the original actress as an English actress, and they revoiced, and they didn't tell her until she went to the screening. Imagine that feeling. I know. Thank you all so much. Bye, guys.
Well, we all know she loves Krull and Nathan Fillion, and not to mention would love being a part of the Whedon universe. We'll have Merlin himself, Colin Morgan, in just a moment. And for you listeners of the Sci-Fi Talk podcast, in particular this one for Merlin Part 1, Audible is offering a free audio download with a free 14-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. All you have to do is go to audibletrial.com/sci-fi talk and choose from over 100,000 titles. And this is for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Back on Sci-Fi Talk as Colin Morgan sits down and greeted us reporter types.
How's it going, guys? How's it all doing? Welcome. It's so exciting, and there's no denying that whenever you started something like this, there's no way you could have possibly comprehended where it was going to go, and that's not that you didn't believe in it. It's just that you always want to be part of something special and unique and successful. But the fact that it's gone and now you're here, 4th series, sitting in San Diego talking to you guys, it's unbelievable.
For season 3 that we've seen in the States here, what's been interesting is a lot of the quests that Arthur's gone on. Of course, Merlin's been there right with him. What has that done for their relationship? Because they at times, and actually played comedically, they've been butting heads a little bit. So, has it hurt it or improved their relationship?
It's a funny situation because you're playing with status games here of royalty and servanthood, and that in the world, in this medieval world we live in, can never be overcome. They are good friends because of those journeys that they've been on and the conflicts that they've had and the connections that they've made. And there's these moments throughout season 3 where, although they are complete opposites and they're completely different people, that suddenly you see they've got elements of loneliness, of missing parents in their life, which they have in common, and these weird moments of that. And they're both not good about talking about how they feel, like guys don't do. So, you've got those kind of things where it's, you're not supposed to talk about those things, but when they do, you kind of go, actually, they're pretty similar in their very different ways, and that's, I think that's improved their relationship. But it's a funny thing now going into the 4th series, because it's almost time to put those childish things away, in a sense, and I don't know how ready Merlin is to do that, and it's about grappling to hold on to what's been deeply there for so long. And Merlin's in a lost place, really, as everyone's sort of taken their places and moving towards things. Merlin's in the middle, watching all this, going, where does he go? So that's a big theme for Merlin in this new season coming up.
What from the legend is there something that he is looking forward to playing in the series?
Growing up, I knew as much really about the Arthurian legend as anyone knew, the Sword and the Stone stories and the brief kind of Knights of the Round Table. Since being involved in the show, I read up lots about the legends and lots about that, and it was great to be informed and to know about that world and to educate yourself about that, because while you're working in this in that kind of genre, it helps just to know. Not that you use everything, but this is very much a retelling. And if anything, reading more about the legends reaffirmed the fact that every version you read is a retelling, and that you have to retell it. You can't recreate. And that's what I found out. I mean, it's great to know all this stuff, but you gotta tell your story now. I like there's a great story of the mad Merlin, which I like the feel of, which is it plays on the fact that the stuff he's going through in this new season coming up, he could very well go mad, go a bit nuts, but there's a great thing that he was called mad because he didn't agree with war. He didn't, anyone in that era who didn't see that as a strategy and as a way of solving problems was called mad, and why? And so he retreated from that world and he went off into the woods to consult with the stars and what he believed in, and I like an element of solitude to find out how he can solve this. And there's wars and battles coming up in this series galore, and so there's room for it, and something I'd love to see. But my favourite thing was the Crystal Cave, which we got to explore last series, so I hope that comes back more.
I think for you as an actor this past season that we've seen, you really have had the challenge of balancing comedic moments and dramatic moments. How has that been for you? Is that probably one of the most difficult seasons for you as a result?
It's been one of the most liberating, really, because it's whenever you can lift up a script, a few scripts and go, every story's so different from the next, and it's a different Merlin in each one almost, and you have to put on the mask of who he is, because he's so, everyone is different people with different people all the time, and more so for Merlin because of the secret he harbours, and in that world it's a challenge. So whenever you read a script and you go, how, that's the best, if you look at it and you think it's safe, I always feel a bit scared about that. It's when you look at it and you go, how am I going to do this, and that's a good place to start. His dream's so big, his ambition's so big to live in a world where magic is free, where as a result then he can be free, and that it's ruled by this great king. That's his ambition to achieve that. He would be the idiot to mess that up, and if he took the wrong opportunity at the wrong time and the wrong elements, if something wasn't right, if nothing was set in place, and he decided to reveal the biggest thing that could ruin everything, it's more and more throughout the series I've realised he can't unless he knows it's right, unless he knows every single thing is set in place. And in the 4th season he gets the biggest opportunity he possibly can to get towards that, and he takes it. So we have to see how that works out.
Is there a point during the course of this series where Arthur figures out what Merlin is doing, using his magic, and maybe turns a blind eye to it?
That would be an interesting way to explore that, I think, because it's going to be an interesting thing when Arthur finds out. How does he react? Merlin's biggest fear is that you've got a sort of a reincarnation of Uther within him, and that's the biggest fear Merlin has. So yeah, I mean, it would need to be, if it's going to be an accidental thing, I mean that comes from Arthur. If it's a deliberate thing, it very much has to be from Merlin. So how they choose to explore that will be, I mean, I'm interested to see how they'll do that.
And at the time he was asked, how many episode scripts did he have of the season 4?
Up until episode 9 we've done now, so we're filming those at the minute, and then when we go back we're going to start on 12 and 13, which are the final ones, and then we go back and do 10 and 11. So it's weird, but it all seems to work out somehow. The final 2 episodes are normally very CGI heavy and very, from what I hear, these 2 this year are going to be nuts. So they need the time. It comes on TV in the UK while we're still filming. So it becomes a ticking time bomb whenever it comes on, because the post visual effects and everything has to be completed on time, and they don't have a choice. So it's purely a timing thing and a purely technical thing, and for us it just ends up being a bit of a mental whirlwind.
How long is the plan for this series, perhaps beyond season 5?
They've always had a 5-year plan for the show, and it's always whether they take it series by series or season by season as to how it's gonna work out.
Rachel.
Oh, thanks, man.
Johnny.
I mean, they have. I think producers talk like that because they have the view of it over 5 series, and that you could never. I guess you couldn't. I'm not sure how you sort of plan out a whole series arc, but I guess you couldn't ever go, what if we only do 4? You got to always go 5, and if it gets cut after 4, well then we didn't get to do what we wanted for the 5th one. But I think that's how they view it. They got to have an end point to look at.
He addresses if he can do any other work besides Merlin that perhaps keeps him energized.
It's big. Well, 13 episodes. We filmed for 8 months of the year, so it's a good big chunk of the year. And I've done some.
How many months?
8 months.
8 months.
Yeah. So I've done some stuff in between. I did a play just before starting in London this year, just before starting the 4th series, and I've done a couple of films, which one of which will be coming out in the States next year. I think in March time next year. It's called Parked. And it's getting released in the UK this November. So yeah, it's exciting to be involved in other things. As exciting as liberating as it is to do something as variety as this. It's good to kind of touch base with other elements as well. Well, it's good. It's always good. I think whenever you gotta explore everything. I think as an actor, and if a challenge comes up, take it. It's we don't have a choice with each episode, because you read it and you go, how am I going to do this? And when you read other scripts, you think, whoa, this would be hard, or this would be challenging. And that's what I always look at, because I've been surprised by the scripts. So I think this has been the season that has the most surprises in terms of story and in terms of what the characters do. I've been surprised at the turns it's been taken, and to be involved in the show right from the beginning, to know everything inside out, and then to read a script and go, whoa. I think that's a huge testament to the writers and the producers for the difference that they're making for this season. I mean, the posters look completely different from anything we've seen before. They've taken out the bright sort of yellowy blue colours, and it's very much, it seems just dark. I mean, the scene that you've at the very bottom with all the knights kind of lying dead is a scene that we've filmed in the series, and you see glimpses of the future, of the genuine future, from the legends, and that's exciting.
He is coy about saying what his favourite scene from season 4 is.
Damn, I can't say my favourite scene because that's a big spoiler. Let's just say there's a birth of an element of the future, which is a huge excitement for Merlin, and puts him in a I don't know, a father type role almost, which I think this is a nice thing to see for someone that we've seen being a boy for so long. Now putting that aside, I think the only boyish qualities he's got now is the fact that he's lost in the world, but he's got such a mature feel to where he needs to go that that's what's driving him through. And yeah, seeing Merlin fighting what his tactics that he's used before, I think is it's just a change in his character this season, which I think has been great for me to play. There's a scene where you see myself. Yeah. We do get to. I get to be old Merlin again. Yeah. So which is cool, but I mean, there's a difference because the Merlin that you see in this picture, that's Merlin, The Merlin that I play, as myself, is actually is a dragoon. This character that Merlin's made up, and he's playing what he thinks an old man would be like, and what an old man can get away with, which just happens to be ignorance and and anger and insults. So that's kind of that's something fun for me to play as well. And there's a lot of that actually this series. There's one episode where I'm basically 3 different people, which was exciting for me to play.
The series, as you may know for fans of the show, is filmed in an actual castle in France. Have there been more fans showing up on the set?
Yeah, it does feel bigger this year. Particularly when we go to France, and there's a lot of people there. It's not something we're used to, and it's not ever anything that you want to reject or feel opposed to. It's just that it's strange that when you're filming in a studio for so long, and suddenly you've got an audience watching the scene. But this year there's been massive amount of people there, and it's so exciting to see because it is growing, it is getting bigger, and also that's more people getting to see that awesome castle as well, which it's amazing. Like, it's such a cool place. So fan support has always been fantastic. It just feels more this year
because of the arrogance of Arthur and Merlin's temperament. Do you think they balance each other out?
Yeah, that's a big key, isn't it? Is to try and you got to find that balance. Merlin has to find that balance. He has no choice. In a way, he's trying to bring Arthur round to his way of thinking, but with Arthur's morals and heart still in the right place. And at the minute, Arthur's heart's telling him magic is evil. You've got a little Uther sitting in Arthur's heart going, no! Wrong. And Merlin's trying to extract that little Uther out and trying to go, look, in inadvertent ways. So you can't shock him, or Uther will attack his heart in there. And but so it's a case of weeding out what years and years of mindset, years and years of training against magic, coming from someone who is born with it and who is it's so natural as breathing, to go, look, it's all right. It's actually it's a good, not all people who have magic are gonna mess you over like you've been messed over, and that's a big thing. So it's just moving. That's the big question. I know a lot of fans are wanting to know when is that going to happen, but as I was saying, it can't until everything's in place. It can't.
I asked him what it's like for him to play the future Merlin.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's the thing, is it's whenever there's mature elements within young characters and where they're going, to explore someone way in the future and to go, right, you get a grounding of where he's going to end up. But it fuels the journey to that point. So it's always exciting to explore the future and the possibilities, and we're lucky to be on the journey to where that's going.
Here's something interesting on a betrayal against Arthur that will happen in season 4.
At this stage, we've reached some points in the story where Arthur may be convinced or is being shown the right way, but actually he gets the worst ever betrayal of magic against him personally in this season. That is going to be, I don't know how he's going to overcome it. I genuinely don't know. It puts Merlin in a situation where you go, how the hell how do you get what you want? You'll see what it does. It's bad.
Will we see less time between Arthur and Merlin in season 4?
There's a huge involvement now. The Knights of the Round Table are coming. I mean, they're not the Knights of the Round Table yet. They are Arthur's band. We know that's where they're going to go, and it's Merlin's with them on that. He's with them there, but he's so separate from them. And yeah, it does put a barrier in there. But the thing is, as serious as it all becomes, and as serious as life situations do become, people always push for relief. And in Merlin and Arthur's case, that's banter that they have, and there's still bucket loads of that. So, but in different ways, you know, it doesn't always work. Merlin, that's Merlin's way in. It's a safe card, and what does he do whenever that's not working anymore? Because there's a few, it's coming up sort of towards the middle of the series, it's not working. And that's the lost elements, you know, as well, that we're talking about, that it's just, you know, finding ways in to someone who suddenly becomes very closed.
He was asked what TV shows he would have loved to guest star on.
I would have loved to have been in 6 Feet Under, you know, when it was on. I don't know, Dexter, maybe. Yeah, very awesome.
Special thanks to Gary Miereanu and John Singh. Happy 2012, everybody. This is Tony Tillotto.
I'm Lani Tupu, and I play Captain Crace and pilot on Farscape. So this is Lani signing out from Sci-Fi Talk. Tune in, and let me give you the address for the net, which is www.scifitalk.com. Check it out. Bye-bye.